Hey everyone, thanks for any of you that are tuning in just now or are watching this later. Finally getting Skull Tales Full Sail to the table. I actually got this game a few months ago, and this is the second edition. And the I think it's more of like the second edition of the second edition because maybe there was originally just a Skull Tales game, and now and then they came out with Skull Tales Full Sail, which I think was kind of like a revised version of the original, and then now it's Skull Tale Full Sail Second Edition. Um, that's referenced in the bottom of the box here. So, real quick before I go too further, um, first representing kind of the North, Minnesota's largest board game convention, which will be in February of 2025. So if you're in the Twin Cities area or near Twin Cities, look into Con of the North because Talking Cardboard is planning to be there again. But I just want to give a little more background on what exactly Skull Tales is. So it's a currently it's will soon be the second edition of this game is going to be available on Gamefound soon. So this is if you go to search, and I'll link this in the description of the video or of this playthrough video, that there's a Gamefound page for Skull Tales Full Sail V2 version 2, and then it's some additional expansion content. And I believe it's not going to probably go live for another couple months. Maybe I saw October somewhere, but this will give you a much more detailed overview of everything that comes with the core game, which is what I'm showing off here today, and also then the expansion content that's coming out. And essentially, it's a pirate-themed dungeon crawler type game, but what makes it a little unique is that there's 3 phases in the game. So there's probably some adventure dungeon crawler games that might have like two phases, like um, adventure phase and then maybe like a camp phase to the game. The only one that comes to mind that has like 3 phases is Kingdom Death Monster, where you have like the camp phase, the journey phase, and then the fight phase. And but with that said, in Skull Tales, there's 3 phases. There's what's called the adventure phase, where it's a typical kind of dungeon crawler experience that you're used to from a lot of other dungeon crawler games. Then the port phase, where you're actually going around on a ship in the Caribbean and coming across, or sorry, I guess that's the voyage phase, is where you're moving around with your ship, and then you're actually manning your own sailors on your ship, and fighting ships and boarding ships. So a lot of thematic elements going on in that phase. And then there's the port phase, where you basically are park your boat at a port, where you're able then to go onto the island and take a bunch of different actions at all different locations on the port to essentially improve your character by training them and then getting more skills, and then also buying. I think you could probably buy items when you're during the port phase, and find new adventures to try to accomplish. So it's a lot in one box if you weren't already picking up on that. And this is also a very, I would say, heavily RPG inspired game. You're only rolling d6s, so it's not like RPG where you're rolling d20s for skill checks, but there are a lot of different types of skill checks you'll be doing in this game. And you have 4 different traits. Strength, each character has 4 different traits. Show you here on one of the characters cards that I'm playing with today. So there's the strength, agility, intelligence, and perception. So during the course of a game, you might be rolling against those different traits as the need arises. So I don't think I'll spend any more time on the Gamefound page here. Definitely check it out on your own. Also, I do want to say that I've previously done a unboxing for this game that's on our YouTube channel in the live video section. I can link that below as well. So during that, I go through in a little more detail everything that comes with the game. I'm not going to do that now because I really want to start playing. But check that out too. And one thing I also want to just throw out there is that I think something that really got me into what would I say, like wanting to play this game was the show Black Sail. So if you are familiar at all with that show on Netflix, I would check it out if you're into pirate themed shows, because this game really seems to evoke a lot of what I have been watching in that show. And I don't know if the show really inspired this game or if this game somehow inspired the show. I doubt it's the latter, but regardless, I think it's really fun and cool that I feel like this game is kind of, even though it's not actually themed on the Black Sail TV show, I feel the pirate, a lot of what I have been watching that show in terms of like a bunch of different characters trying to become the captain of a ship, is what you're kind of experiencing then in this game. So with that said, let's finally get playing here. And the first thing that I want to do real quick is just show off the characters that I'm playing with. So the game does come with what I would say, very mild solo rules. It is essentially it is essentially a cooperative game, and that you could play then by yourself. And the sorry, a little bit of a technical hurdle here. But if you wanted to play solo, there are like some mild solo rules in that when you're playing in this game, when you're playing as a character, of course I'm knocking things over. So when you're playing as a character, for example, I am wanting to play this gunner character. Each character sheet is two sides. One is like the side that you would use if you're playing them as a full, what the game calls as a pirate. However, you also can have any character work as their ally or be an ally. And an ally is essentially a character that's still on your side, but they don't have as much capability as a fully fledged pirate character would have. So when you play this game solo, the rules basically say that you should play one character as the full pirate version, and then up to 3 characters that are what's again called the ally version. However, I thought about this, and I think I think it'd be more interesting to play as 2 completely individual pirates. So that's what I'm planning to do here. Just because there's certain things that there's a lot of stuff that you don't get to do as an ally. Namely, you don't have items that you're playing with as when you're using an ally character, which I think is a fun part of any RPG type dungeon crawler game, is messing around with your items. So you would lose that with the ally characters, but also there's certain actions that aren't relevant for allies that you can do with your pirates. So with that said, real quick here, again, I already mentioned I'm playing as one of my characters as this gunner, and each pirate has a starting adventure phase ability. So in the case of the gunner here, his adventure phase ability is he doesn't lose action points when he's wounded, which is called endurance. And then this other one's actually meant in the voyage phase when you're on your boat going around the Caribbean. So that's what this second ability would be for. In terms of his traits here, he's got 5 health, he has 6 action points, and then the rum here, these tokens are essentially kind of like additional tokens that can be used for a variety of purposes, such as additional action points or to modify your die rolls. And then on the side here are his starting abilities. So swords represent melee combat. So he would roll 3. He rolls 3 for a melee weapon. He rolls 2 dice for a firearm, and then has strength 4, agility 3, 2 brains, and 3 perception. And then in terms of his loadout here, his starting items include this blunderbuss, which is cool because typically you're not allowed to shoot at adjacent enemies. If you're adjacent, you have to use melee combat, and this is basically like a short range shotgun, Caribbean, what is it, pirate age shotgun. So this weapon can shoot at adjacent enemies, and then also the icons here represent that on a hit it deals 3 damage, and then its range is only 2 spaces, which is not very far. So it's not a long range weapon, but that's the value of this weapon, is it does a lot of damage, but it's short range. And then he also has a grenade, which as you would expect, what this does is you throw it at target space, and then all adjacent spaces, and then you're rolling an attack against potentially multiple enemies, and with each hit dealing 5 damage, which is obviously pretty good. And then finally, he does have a melee weapon on him, which is just the axe. And by the way, I didn't point this out, but this hand symbol represents if it's a 1- or 2-handed weapon or item. And his blunderbuss was 2 hands, so he can't have both his blunderbuss and axe equipped at the same time, but that's okay. And this is actually a weapon that can be used for both melee and ranged. So there are this is, like I said, a pretty thematic game. So as you would expect, an axe can be thrown. So that's what this is representing. Like, you could just hold on to it and hack away at a enemy, and it does 1 damage, or you can let her rip and chuck it at someone. And in that case, if it hits, or if you get successes, you're dealing 2 damage. So, and also you're probably wondering, okay, well, what does the range mean with the arm? And that means the range, which again, very thematic, is dependent on the strength attribute of the throwing character. So the stronger you are, the further you can throw the axe. So again, I really appreciate all the thematic weaving into this game. Let's take a quick look at the other character I'm playing with, which is the witch. So the witch is unique in that she has her own kind of separate deck of cards called Totem Magic. And as it says here, she basically has this small mini deck of cards, which 4 of them are called totems. And these totems provide her different attributes that she updates to that are better than her standard attributes. So basically she's embodying embodying whatever spirit of whatever creature that's then giving her the benefit of those attributes. It also then has these totems have an innate or passive benefit, but then it also provides her the ability to then cast a spell that's connected to the totem, that has a bunch of different, and each of these spells have different effects. So I'm not going to go through all of them for the sake of getting into the game, but I did want to mention her as a kind of a unique character. And she's a little weaker from a health standpoint with only 4 health, but has 7 action points, but then only 1 rum token. And in terms of her abilities, she's only 2 for strength, 2 in agility, but 4 brain power and 4 perception. So definitely a different kind of character, I would say, than the gunner. And then her weapon is a staff here, which also is 2-handed but is only for melee combat. However, it does say add +1 to your melee rolls, and then there's in this game, when you roll 6, like I said, this is RPG inspired. So in a normal RPG, when you're rolling d20s, D20, when you roll a 20, it's a crit. So in this game, when you roll a 6, it's a crit, and so there's a standard crit effect, which is just dealing an additional damage to an enemy, but some weapons like this one have an optional critical effect, and in this case the optional critical effect is stun. So she can stun enemies with that item, weapon. All right, so there is going to be some spoilers in this I guess, because I am going through the very first mission or adventure of the game. So keep that in mind if you really are not against learning about a game, or having a game, being spoiled, having any spoilers. I just want to throw that out there. So with that said, I'll read it. I'll go ahead and set the premise of this mission. As you can see, we have our two pirates about to disembark from their little rowboat, and this is called Chapter 1, The Secret of Captain Jones. It says, Captain Wolfe Jones has been betrayed and is now held captive by the governor of Port Royal. After being tortured, he agreed to take the lieutenant of the guard to the island where he kept his diary along with the secret to a legendary treasure. In a moment of distraction, the captain managed to escape from his captors, but was mortally wounded in the ensuing fight. He literally took his secret to the grave. The Brotherhood of the Coast, protectors of the interests of pirates throughout the Caribbean, has sent Jones's old crew aboard the Southern Lady. Some of the crew members have offered themselves as possible candidates to be the new captain. In order to earn the title, you must find some clue as to the whereabouts of the captain's diary before Lieutenant Martin Daniels finds his way off the island. So here we're trying the goal of this mission. I'll just, again, little bit of a spoiler here, but this again is only the first mission. So this is what you're given in the mission book to look at in terms of what's going on. It explains the different types of enemies you might come across in this specific adventure. And then the goal here is get Wolfe Jones' diary and leave the island. Now, what I think is kind of fun about this game is the way you accomplish that goal is not immediately apparent, based on the current state of the board. We have this blank island that we just landed on. So in order to actually figure out what we have to do, we have to explore the island, obviously, and find, where we will be, of course, uncovering new tiles. But also, that is kind of explained over here, or it also is indicated by the fact that there's all these different this story chart, which explains when you explore different tiles, you're going to read a paragraph that progresses the story, is going to provide more detail as to how you actually accomplish your goal. Which again, all of that to me, very thematic, fun, makes you want to actually play a mission to see how things work out. Okay, so with that said, I wanted to take this is a reference to the different actions the players can take on their turn, so I'm definitely going to be trying to take advantage of this. But we're ready to get started here. The rules there is this heavy element of who's the captain. I want to be, I don't want to say it's a semi-co-op game, because that gives the wrong connotation. At the end of the day, this is a cooperative game. You're trying to all win a mission together, and there's no what's the word? There's no alternative. You either win a mission or you don't if you're not working together. But there is this kind of side game where everyone's trying to be the captain in the game, and I think if you're playing with other people, obviously playing by yourself, it's not really that big of a it's kind of a, it's more of a gimmick then, because you, of course, are going to be the captain for your own game. But if you're playing with other players, that brings in kind of this RPG element of everyone's vying to be the captain, and to be the captain, you need to have the most prestige. And anyway, it definitely does add another element to an adventure game that you would not have in most other dungeon crawler type games. And it also is very thematic. Again, going back to that show, Black Sail, that's kind of a big part of the show, is like you have all these different characters that kind of want to be in power. I kind of view Black Sails as the pirate Game of Thrones, where you have all these different captains of ships and each one has their own ego. Anyway, I think this game does a good job of trying to weave that in without it being overly cumbersome in how the mechanics of all of this captaincy system works. So with that said, I'll just go ahead and decide that my gunner is going to go first, and he is going to start by doing a move action. I'll kind of explain things as I go here. So to move, it's where is that? I guess moving isn't specified because it's just one action point per square of movement, so they don't actually specifically call that out in the oh, they do. Sorry, I missed it. They do have move here. So as listed on this menu, move is one action per movement, and he's going to do just that. He's going to go one. Oh, actually, sorry, I meant to do this way earlier, but I wanted to show off my painted minis. I spent a lot of time on these, so Draco Ideas and the Eclipse Editorial, who are publishers of this game. I would love your feedback on my paint jobs here, but this is the first time I painted a mini and actually did added some terrain element to the base of a mini. I know this is done typically in war miniature games, not I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do this to their board game mini games as well. But anyway, I got this sand that I glued to the base of the mini, so I thought that looked kind of cool. Anyway, this is the gunner up close with his axe on the back, his blunderbuss ready to go. And then I have the witch here. It's a little hard to see. It's a little hard to see, but I appreciated how I tried to do a glowing effect in her eyes. I thought it turned out kind of cool. But anyway, so those are my painted minis. And if you're a mini painting expert, feel free to critique my paint job, but I was pleased with how they turned out. And I feel like with any mini game, it always makes the game look that much more fun when you have painted miniatures. So, okay, back to my action with the gunner. He's going to use some action points here to move. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is an action called search, which when you search, you basically are looking for items on your tile. And I want to say it's 2 action points. It is. But it requires... Yeah, so just to show you guys what I'm looking at here, the action I'm considering doing is search, because if I stop where I'm at right now, I still have 2 action points left, and that would allow me to do a search action. And but as the action says here, it requires a skill check of 4 perception. Now, this is something the game handles perception or skill checks in its own way. In this game, to do a skill check, you would look at the character's perception trait, which is a 3. That means I'm rolling 3 dice on a perception skill check. And then I have to get, of course, as many successes as the skill check calls for. And because it says it's a 4, in this game, that means I actually have to get 5s and 6s to be at least 1 5 or 6 to be successful. So I'm going to go ahead and take my chances here. I figure why not get some die rolling out of the way early once I find where I put my dice, which is over here. And I have to get my dice cup, which I have in the other room, so I apologize for not having that on the ready. Okay, got the dice cup. Shout out to my friend Spencer. Spencer actually gifted me this dice cup. It's actually kind of Mexican inspired artwork on the sides of it, and honestly goes perfect for this game. Because there's a Caribbean vibe going on here. Kind of ancient. I think you do kind of go through. There's definitely temple maps that you're walking through in this game. So anyway, I'm rolling 3 dice, and I want at least 1, 5, or 6. So let's see how I do. And I did roll 1 die out of the dice tray. All right, pretty bad result. So I failed, and the one downside with failing a search action is that, as it says here, you do have to advance what's called the pirate flag 1 space. So you might be wondering, what kind of pushes you forward in this game, and that's what this track's all about. This is basically your game clock, and once it gets to 0, you would lose a mission. So I find this a big part of why I think this game also is interesting, in that you can't just diddle dally around. You do have this game clock that's pushing you to actually progress. And also, for example, that search action, because I think there's other games where it's like, why wouldn't you always just search? Just every time you have the opportunity, do a search action. Well, in this game, there's a penalty if you're unsuccessful. You're now losing time, and thematically it makes sense, right? Like, you're thinking around instead of actually trying to accomplish why you're on the island. My gunner here, he probably isn't the most. He only has 2 brains. He's not the smartest guy, and something shiny caught his attention. He went to search for it, and it ended up just being the shiny reflection of a rock, and it turned out not to be anything. So anyway, that was his 6th action point. That means it's now the witch's turn, and to start with, I'm going to the rules aren't very clear about this. About how she initiates her totems. So the totems, typically these magic cards seem to would require action points, and the action points required are designated in the upper right corner of the card. So in the case of this bear totem card, which is the one I want to use, it says it requires 2 action points for me to use. So I have no reason to. My one I guess question is, am I able to start the mission with it equipped, or do I have to actually spend the 2 action points within the start of the adventure phase? And I'm going to just make the decision here that I do have to I can't start a mission with it equipped, and therefore I'm going to spend 2 action points to have her take this totem out. The rules aren't 100% clear if this is an item. Normally you can only have 2 items equipped per se, unless of course one of them is a 2-handed weapon, which is the case for a staff. So, but there's no reason, I have no reason to believe it actually is an item. So I'm going to say she just uses that spell, and now moving forward, she will have the benefit of having 4 strength for strength checks, and then 3 for her melee combat skill. And then also this additional benefit that says her melee attacks inflict 1 additional damage per success. So this is, in my opinion, a really strong totem of the 4 she has available. Okay, so that was 2 of her points. She now can move. She's going to get off the ship as well. She's going to go 1, 2, 3. And that means she has 2 more points left. So she could just do a search action where she's at. And she's going to go ahead and do that because her perception is 4. So she's going to be rolling 4 dice on a perception check. And she looks like she's pretty perceptive. She's not going to fail this like the gunner did. And look at that. She got 2 successes. She only needed 1. So easy success for the witch. Now the question is, what did she find? And we have a deck of search cards here that I will pull from. So I will pull the top card, And what do we have here? It is called Urzuli's. I'm going to say it's Urzuli's Flower, which says discard this card to repeat one of your rolls. So this then goes into, well, I don't know if it's called backpack, but let's put it at the top of her card to represent that's something she has, and obviously now has the ability to re-roll in the future. So with that said, the player or character turn is over, and now we would proceed to the next part of the game round, which is called the looking it up here as we speak. The enemy round. So since there's no enemies, I do believe we just skip over the enemy round for the time being, and we move on to what's called the adventure round. And so for the adventure round, it says, just going through the bullets, end of game, which isn't the case. Adventure board, resolve any effect, which I don't think we have to worry about that. Board cleanup, remove the tokens. We don't have to worry about that. Recover from stunning. Nothing. No one's stunned yet. Manage states. So there's additional states just besides stunning. Prepare cards. Flip all depleted cards face up, but I didn't deplete anything. Nothing with magic cards yet. This card just stays in play. It's a lot of magic cards do have a cooldown, which is represented in the upper left, and this card does show a value for the cooldown, but that's if I ever wanted to switch to a different totem. So she has 3 other totems right now that I could decide, oh, I'm done using this bear totem, I want to switch to a different totem, and then this card gets placed on the 3 spot of the spell cooldown track. So I really like that system. It's simple, but it makes it so you can, of course, just continuously use the same spell over and over again. So I like that. Anyway, don't have to worry about that right now. And then we have the adventure event card. So draw a card if there are no enemies sharing a tile with the characters or within their line of sight. And that's kind of like, again, I like that aspect of the game where you don't really get to just play around the game, make sure that there's always something going on. You're either trying to fight against the track here, or you're going to have pirates spawning, or you're going to be drawing an adventure card. And let's see what that will entail. So this is the adventure card deck. Draw the top card. Let's see what we get. And it says oh, that doesn't sound good. Underground Hell. So one thing that I didn't confirm is some of these cards are specified to certain tiles, and I don't know if the rules indicate that you're supposed to only use cards that are relevant to the tiles you're using. So C stands for cave tiles. For fun, I'm just gonna pretend like I wasn't supposed to have that. Here, let's just use the next one. Okay, this one, called "The Dead Don't Rest." The sickening smell of death still lingers here. Place 2 skeletons on a cemetery and/or crypt tile with at least 1 character. They confront immediately. Well, this one doesn't specify an island, so the rule does say that if the card cannot be applied, discard it and start the character round. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that at this point and not force myself to continue drawing something that might be bad, because the rules say that if it can't apply, then don't do it. But that gives you an idea of other things in this game. So there's skeletons, there's cemeteries, there's a little voodoo going on too with this. That's not really part of the Black Sail TV show. That's an added element to this game for sure, is this little bit of fantastical element, which some people appreciate. Some people may be fine with more of a realistic, I guess, historical pirate type game. But anyway, so we move back to the character round, and I believe at the start of the character round, it's just nothing different occurs. and we just go ahead and do rinse and repeat. However, this time I'm going to probably start trying to make things happen. So I'll start with my gunner, and he's going to go 1, 2, and now he's going to do what's called the Explorer action. So Explore, listed right there. When reviewing a tile, advance the pirate flag 1 space, flip a tile token, and place the corresponding tile connected to your exit space. So we'll go ahead and do just that. We will advance the pirate token 1 space on the track, on the timer track. Then I already have this pre-crafted stack of map tiles that are randomly shuffled, so I don't know which tile I'm about to uncover. And I want to point out, this does add a nice amount of variability to the game. You might be wondering, you know, with a lot of adventure mission-based games, a scenario might be pretty one-dimensional. You might have the exact same, and you might think that the experience could be the same every single time. And the goal of this mission, of course, is always going to be the same. But what makes it what's going to make it different is the way the tiles come out on the as you go through the mission is going to be different than every game. And then also, I want to mention there's about 4 or 5 tiles that could be in this game, this specific mission, that aren't. At the start of the setup, it says, you know, take the tiles, randomly shuffle island tiles 1 through 6, and use just 3 of those, and put the other 3 back in the box. So if I did this mission again, it's quite possible I'll have 3 other different tiles that I'm playing this mission with than I did originally. And then, of course, what I didn't really cover was the fact that there's like 10 playable or maybe 12 playable characters in the game, and I'm only playing with 2 of the 12. And there's a lot more to be said about the replayability. I just really want to highlight some of these things that make me excited about this game. So back to what the gunner's about to do. He's spent 1, 2, 3 of his action points to move here. This could be bad and dumb. We'll see. So he spent 3 to move up to here. Now he's spending 2 more, meaning he does only have 1 left to reveal the top token of the stack, which happens to be Island Tile 8. So now I would search through the island. Oh, actually, first, I'll find Island Tile 8 over here. And it looks like kind of a swampy tile. In the middle of the tile is a bunch of blue spaces which represent water. And so you can see the tile has only one exit and 1 entrance, or however you want to call each of those. And I have the choice to decide how I want to then connect it to the map. I'll just keep it simple and make this the way I'm going to connect it. Okay, so now I explored a new tile. I have to then do a quick check of the mission book to see if this specific tile will have any specific effects for the storyline, which would be... Sorry, let me move some stuff here. So down here, and Island Tile 8 is not amongst these. So there's no story thing that I'm reading. However, with that said, I do have to then roll for what's called the enemy chart, which is down here. And basically, I roll a d6 to determine how many potential enemies might be appearing on the tile that I just explored. And that's references this difficulty, references a difficulty marker. And that difficulty marker I didn't mention yet is actually here. So right now you start a mission at difficulty 1, and it could go up as the mission progresses. All that to say is that I'm rolling 1 die, and that was a mistake. So I'm rolling 1 die and this will determine if any enemies spawn essentially. 0, 1 to 2 means nothing. 3 to 4 1 red coat, and then 5 to 6 is 2 red coats. And it's a 4, so 1 red coat will spawn. And I'm 99% sure when an enemy spawns, they will go at the furthest corner of the tile, which makes sense thematically. Like they're coming in through the other end. Do want to give myself a little more exposure for my paint work. I painted the red coats. I'm really happy with how these turned out. And did the sand. I gave all of the minis I painted the same base. I was wondering if I should maybe mix it up and, do different base materials. So anyway, that's the red coat. All right, so we have a red coat, and I don't think they immediately. Do they immediately attack when they spawn? I'm gonna have to take a quick. A quick rule check here, and I apologize for this. I really tried my best to have everything be up to date on everything before I started for this very reason, so I didn't get enemy spawning. Enemy spawn each time new tile is placed. Place the enemy, place the next enemy, continue placing enemies when the tile has no extra space, blah blah. Okay. So maybe they don't immediately attack? I'm going to assume then that they don't immediately attack. For some reason, I thought I read somewhere in this rule book that, in fact, once you place an enemy, they will immediately then also attack. But I'm not seeing that anywhere. So, that being the case, I still have then 1 point of movement that I can spend for my gunner here. And I could either move into that space and basically do nothing. I can stay where I'm at. If I move in, I'll definitely make it that much easier for the red coat to try and take a shot at me. The problem is my witch is pretty far away, so I'm not sure how she's going to be able to really do much. So with all that said, I'm just going to back up and end my turn. So this is actually a pretty defensible position because there's not going to be a lot of line of sight offered or for that red coat on its turn. So that's the end of the gunner's turn. Next, I'm going to activate the witch, who has 7 movement. Now, the problem right now is she only has melee combat, so she'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, she gets really close, but not. I mean, I should. She yeah. So there is the run action that I could use, which would actually get her all the way here, and then I could spend her rum token to to then doing it. No, I still would. I wouldn't actually. Yeah, to then attack, and I feel that's a little aggressive, for one enemy because he's gonna be coming at us anyway. But yeah, so I'm not gonna bother doing that. What I am gonna do instead is I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then explore. Do an explore action for 6. Yeah, 6 points. Or sorry, her 6 action point. So I go back to the tile stack and flip the next island tile, which happens to be island tile number 3. So now I'll first of all find island tile 3 from the stack of tiles over here. And it looks like this. So once again, I have 2 options for the entrance that I can choose from. And I'm going to go ahead and now we're getting into the part of the game where I'm going to have to move some things around. So let's do this. So you guys can still see the full board. And I'm just going to go ahead and place then this tile here. I'm next checking the rule book, or mission guide I should say. Technically it's called the campaign book, to see if tile island 3. Nope, no story chart message for island 3. That means we do have to do another roll to see if we are spawning any additional enemies. And it's a 2. So 0, since we're still at difficulty 1, a 1 or 2 was nothing. So she ran all the way there, explored a tile, and nothing was on the other side. So that's okay. That was, again, yeah, that was her 6th point. So she would have 1 point left. And I don't think there's any thing worth her doing. Maybe just backing up, because I don't think going that any more further that way would benefit me. So I'm going to put her there. And now we will resolve the enemy's turn for the first time. So to do that, the rules say that if the enemy is adjacent to one of your characters, they just do a melee attack. But if that's not the case, which it's not the case here because we have the red coat way over there, they will instead roll against this AI chart, and based on the die result, do whatever the chart says to do. So we roll 1 die, and let's see what we get. We get a 2. So 2 to 5 says form up, confronts, then half moves towards the closest red coat that has already moved. If he's already adjacent to another red coat or no other red coat has moved yet this turn, he does not move again. So confront, I believe, means he will move his full movement. And again, the enemy turns are the parts that's going to slow me down a tad here with this first playthrough. Confront. When an enemy behavior indicates that it confronts, that enemy moves as much as indicated on its enemy card, and when possible, attacks the nearest character following the standard movement and combat rules for enemies. Remember that an enemy that can perform ranged attacks does not need to continue moving if it has LS and range. So in case you're wondering, its range for its weapon is actually 5, so it does have some pretty good range for its firearm. That's indicated here. But it doesn't currently have line of sight. However, as I just described, it is going to move. And, sorry, I meant to also show that its movement is a 3 because the two numbers indicate if you're playing with less than 3 or less players, you use the left number. 4 or more players, you use the right number. Anyway, so its movement's 3. It's gonna at least do that much. I just need a quick check if it's hindered by water movement. Okay, it ignores. I saw that immediately. It ignores additional spaces for water. So I think it will go 1, 2, 3, and I'm trying to determine if it will have line of sight to either 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So it has range of both my characters. I need to now do a quick check on LOS or line of sight to confirm if it's. I think it's just corner of shooting square to center of corner. Yeah, draw a center line. Draw a line from any corner of the attacking miniature space to the center, and if it doesn't pass through or touches an obstacle, there's a clear line of sight. Sorry, I was kind of looking through the line of. I'm still a little actually unclear on the range part. It says range is how far to calculate, and it's calculated by counting the number of spaces from the starting space to the target space in a straight line and ignoring any obstacles. So it's like I have my range. I need to find my line of sight laser pointer. So let's quick check to see for that corner. Man, this is actually pretty tricky. So it's looking maybe at this corner to the center. It kind of it's just going through a perfect diagonal. And I think great. Okay. The rules specifically say if it doesn't touch an obstacle. So the fact that the line actually does touch, well, two corners that are obstacles, would not have line of sight to my gunner. Now let's check the. I think I see it touching there. Okay, actually this front corner. So the front corner here does seem to have line of sight to the center of the witch. Because it does actually go through the space of my gunner a little bit, but the gunner characters will not block line of sight to the enemy. Or wait, did I? Oh, I was wrong. It says in the case of enemies, the situation is reversed. Characters block their line of sight, but an enemy does not hinder or block the line of sight. So the gunner's wide body is actually protecting the witch. So all of that to say that there's no line of sight for the redcoat. He moved his 3 spaces and wasn't close enough to actually do anything. So now we go to the what's it called? The end of turn phase, the resolution phase of the turn. And I think nothing happens because for the adventure event card says draw a card if there are no enemies sharing a tile with the characters or within their line of sight. And this character does have line of sight to... I definitely do have line of sight to... my guy does have line of sight to the pirate. Well, I think both my characters actually have line of sight to the pirate, or the redcoat, I should say. Sorry. So, with that said, we will just move on to the character round. So in the character round, I'm tempted to be a little aggressive here and just run up to the redcoat and blast him in his face with my blunderbuss. But the problem is the blunderbuss does 3 damage. Oh, it's 3 damage per success. Yeah, so let's do it for fun. Come on, right? Like, we need combat. So Gunner's gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of this guy. Let me do it. So he's gonna go 1, 2, so 2 points of movement, and then gonna do an attack action. So going back to the action menu, for an attack, it does count. It costs 2 action points, and well, actually, I should take that back. I don't need to be right in his face. There's no benefit actually for me to be that close. So I'm just going to spend 1 movement point because, oops, sorry. So what I did is just moved him back 1. So he's only spending 1 action point so far for movement because he's got line of sight, from the space right to the redcoat. So there's no need. As much as it sounds fun to go right up to him and smack him in his face with shoot him right in his face with his blunderbuss, I'm going to save my point of movement and do it from there. Okay, so going back to the attack action, it costs 2 action points, so this will be 3 action points total that I'll have spent of his 6 after this. And all I have to do is roll the number of dice that he rolls for... number of dice he rolls for ranged attack, which is just 2. Which now I'm realizing might be a little... not risky, but not as automatic as I originally thought, because he rolls 2 dice. He's only rolling 2 dice, and then he has to beat the agility of the target. So in this case, since it's just a feeble redcoat, his agility is only 2. So that means I hit on a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So the odds are still good, but it's not a guarantee. So let's see. Jeez. Oh man, that's really disappointing. So I only rolled one success. The one success is enough to deal 3 damage to the red coat, but unfortunately, the red coat has a total of um, 4 health. So if I want, so also one thing about firearms, which is again thematic, I appreciate this rule. Once a firearm is shot, it's now unloaded. That means you have to flip it on its side or complete, 180, 90 or 180 to show it's now empty. And there is an action that called reload that I would have to do if I want to reload. Um, okay, so now I'm tempted to just like, okay, let's bring in the melee and chop them up, which I think I might have to do here because I can't finish. I have to finish them off at this point. So unfortunately, I've used 2 actions already. I'm gonna now use a third action to swap out my items here. So this was two-handed, so I can't have an axe and my blunderbuss. That's okay. I'm gonna put it on my back. I'm gonna go ahead and wield then my axe in one hand and my grenade in the other hand. Um, and so that's now my fourth action. So this is that. Oh crap. Oh yeah, because now I'm realizing I'm still gonna be. Well, I could just could just throw the axe from where I'm at. um, yeah, why not? We're having fun here, and that just sounds very thematic. Where I shoot with the blunderbuss, I don't fully kill him. I put it on my back, take out my axe, and throw the axe. Like that's what makes this game. I mean, it is supposed to be played a little bit in an RP. Because you are supposed to roleplay this game a little bit. And I was thinking I'd go like take the axe and run up to him, but I'm one action point short to doing that, and I could use one of my uh, rum tokens that would then give me the ability to do one more action. Okay, we'll just for the sake of fun here, I'm gonna use my fifth point of action to move one more, which then means I only have 6, which isn't enough for then me to do another attack. So instead, I'm gonna spend one of my rum tokens and um, you know what? Back up. I'm throwing the axe. All right. So the axe is another for me to throw it. It's another ranged attack, and therefore I use 2 dice, and I am trying to beat the agility of just 2. So I need a 3, 4, 5, or 6. Thank goodness I got a crit when I wished God, that was a much better roll. So a crit, unfortunately, doesn't mean anything now. But I definitely hit him square in the face with my thrown axe. This guy dies. R.I.P. Red Coat. His coat was already red. Now it's more red. And so it's getting later and more violent as the night goes on. But unfortunately, the axe is now thrown. Or unfortunately, however you want to look at it. The axe has been thrown, so it's actually now on the board where the red coat was. And there is a token for that. So here's it isn't, it's not always axes that are being thrown around in this game, but the token happens to be an axe. And then you place a fallen enemy token as well. So that's what these are. Off to the side, I'm going to do a quick shuffle. And then place one of those also on the space. And now he's probably just going to go there because he wants to pick that axe up. That would be his last point of... No, wait. Yeah. Oh, no. His last 2 points were there. Right? So he's done. I think. Jeez, I'm sorry, guys. So he went one shot for 2-3, threw the axe, or no, switched the item for 4, threw the axe for 5-6. So he is stuck there. Um, but a pretty eventful turn for Mr. Gunner. All right, now it's Witch's turn. The Witch could either go, and I want to also say that these are obviously generic names, and that's 100% intentional because you're supposed to name your characters something that you want to name them. Just like a regular RPG, you're naming your characters whatever you want. You're not a game doesn't tell you what the name of your character is in an RPG. So these are just generic names because you're supposed to come up with your own name for your character. And I'm lacking the creative juices right now, so I'm just going to call them Gunner and Witch. But keep that in mind if you're wondering why they have such generic names. It's because, yeah, you actually would have a character sheet, which I think you have to print out separately, so I don't have that on me either right now. But you'd have a character sheet where you'd fill out the name and everything, typical RPG stuff. So the Witch has an option of going off in this empty tile and digging around, which seems kind of pointless, or taking a chance and opening up another tile. She sees the Gunner having fun blowing up guys and throwing axes, so she wants to maybe get into some action herself. She's going to go 1, 2, and spend a third point for explore, meaning we flip another tile here. And this time we get I5. Wait. Island number 5. So we now dig up island number 5, which is right here. And I'm just going to put it this way. What do I put this way? I don't actually know what makes more sense, if it matters that much or not, with island tile placement here. Anyway, so I'm going to place it like this. So that was 1, 2, 3. So she's done 3 actions so far. And what was I about to say here? Oh yeah, is there a paragraph check for island number 5? Tile number 5, which there is. It says go to code 46. So a little spoiler alert here. I'm going to read off some literature from the mission book. As you make your way into the jungle, the sound of swords clashing reaches your ears. You arrive at the source just in time to see a redcoat's bayonet sinking into your beloved bosun, while 2 more form a circle around him. Add 3 more random island tiles to the supply, along with island 4, and shuffle them well. Set difficulty to level 2. Keep playing until all redcoats are defeated. When that happens, read number 96. So it does give me, just in case you're curious, the mission book shows, okay, this is what Isle 4 now looks like. Tile 4. So I set it up accordingly. Oh, sorry. Yeah, island 5. Tile 5 is what I can't think I was showing tile 4, but tile 5 looks like this. You got the 3 redcoats around the bosun. I'm not sure if the X, so there's an X there. I'm not sure if that means I'm supposed to place like what that means, honestly. I'm sorry that I'm taking a little bit of time. It seems like the X does mean something. Because it represents And I apologize for the pause here. I'm forgetting what time. So it's 46 is what I just read. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry guys. Add 3 more to you and shuffle them. Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out if that means it's a goal or what that token's supposed to represent. But I can't, I'm not immediately seeing anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and place the enemies as it, I should have done this, but I'm just going to go and place the enemies as indicated, which is like this. And now I have, so that was 1, 2, 3. So she has 4, 5. She could run up to that guy and do a punch. And that could be fun. Could be a little dumb. Because with her melee attack, she'd be rolling 3 die. And then this is now a confronted attack. So she rolls 3 die against the enemy agility. And they actually roll defense die now back. And part of me wants to try all this out for the sake of trying all this out. But then she's at risk. But let's just go ahead and try. So she's going to go 4, 5 action points and then do an attack. So, as I just was saying, with a melee attack, which we haven't done yet, you have to, and I appreciate, again, this is one of the things I like about this game, in that it's a lot of dungeon crawler games. You just go up to someone and hit them on the head, and the enemy is not really, well, you, when you're being hit, or the enemy is not really able to do anything about it. You just take the damage. But in this game, there's a defense check. So the attacker rolls its many dice as their melee value. Each die that exceeds the opponent's agility is considered a hit. The defender repeats the same process, trying to surpass the attacker's agility with their melee roll. So, what all of that means is I'm going to be rolling 3 black die for the witch, and then because she has a melee value of 3 thanks to her bear totem that she already has out, then and I need to roll 3 or more for successes, because the agility of the red coat that I'm attacking is 2. So I need to roll 3 or better on my die to beat his agility. He then, in turn, is rolling 1 die. Oh, 2 die. Oops, I misread that. But 2 die against me, because that's his melee. And he is then trying to beat my agility, which is actually just 2, to succeed on defense. So we're both trying to basically... We both have the same numbers to success. Okay, so this is good because both of the... Oops, I meant to put this over here. But both of the ones we rolled were unsuccessful. Then the 5 that the red coat rolled is a success for him, which negates a success of mine. So unfortunately, this would have been a success for me, but it canceled out by his success. However, I got that crit 6. And I'm going to take advantage of the critical ability of my card, which is optional. Oops. Wrong card. The bear totem card. Oh, sorry. Not the bear totem card either. Her staff, the weapon that I just used, which says, oh, wait a second. Well, yeah, never mind. So it does add 1 to my die rolls, which unfortunately doesn't help me here because making the 1 that I rolled a 2 is still a miss. And then the 5, it's making the 5. Oh, yeah, actually it does help me because then I gotta take this back. The 5 now, no, it doesn't matter because this was still a successful roll for the defender. And even if I made this into a 6, this was not a natural 6, so it wasn't a critical, and therefore it just is it's still a success, so it doesn't change anything. Hopefully you guys understood what I just said there. Anyway, but it has an optional crit effect, which is stun, and since I'm not going to be able to kill him because I need to roll 4 or do 4 damage, then I should just stun him. I do want to point out that the bear totem, though, does say your melee attacks inflict 1 additional damage per success. So I got really close. I could do 3 damage when I take everything into account because the crit does a bonus damage, then the bonus damage from the success of my bear totem, that's 3 total damage, but it's still alive, so I'm going to, instead of using then the regular crit, which is just +1 damage, I'm going to use the stun. And 8. I just want to double check my interpretation of the critical roll thing. Critical results during the adventure phase, a result of 6 on the die without applying modifiers, is a critical roll. This result is not affected by penalties on the rolls. A critical attack roll can only be blocked by another critical roll. The attacker causes 1 extra damage for each critical hit obtained that is not canceled by the defender. This can be added to the bonus that a weapon may have. Some pirate weapons have special optional critical. When your pirate rolls a critical with a weapon that is an optional critical, you may choose to apply the optional instead of dealing an extra damage. Yeah. Okay. So, now that's clear. What that means is I am going to be dealing 2 damage to the red coat that I just swung at. And then the red coat's going to take one of these stun tokens, which is just stars, show that he's a little dazed by being wonked in the head with the staff. Put that next to it on the board. So yeah, it is what it is. I didn't take him out, but I could have been worse. But now she's stranded there. So that's the end of her turn. I do have one of these that I could try, in theory, use to try to move out of there, but I'm going to stand my ground, let the redcoats take their turns. So because neither redcoat is adjacent to me on the board, I'm going to roll a AI die, is what I'm going to call it. I'm sure there's a better term for this, to see what each does. I'm going to start with this guy over here to see what he does. And so I'm rolling a d6, and it's a 4. So a 4 was confronts, which is move basically to attack. It's maybe there is this blocking terrain here. So he currently would not have line of sight to the witch because from this corner it would it touches the corner of the blocking terrain, and the rules say if it touches the corner of a blocking terrain, that means there's no line of sight. So he's going to have to move, and he's going to move then right there, which makes him now adjacent to the witch and allows him then to do a melee attack. So we pretty much are rolling the same die here. It's almost the exact same procedure. He's rolling 2 dice against my 3 dice. I want to try to cancel out his successes. And I definitely, yeah, he doesn't even get 1 success with his 2 dice, and I had 2 successes. No, I had 3 successes, so, geez, he embarrassed himself in front of his colleagues. So, the rest of that action says, then half move towards the closest redcoat that has already moved. But he's already adjacent, so he's not going to move again. So now we roll for the other redcoat. No, wait, sorry. The other redcoat will attack from where he's at because he has line of sight, because his partners will not block line of sight for him, which I guess thematically is, they're ducking out of the way as he fires. So he's going to shoot from there. Range combat, you're not defending against. You don't get to defend against. Now, the game does say he's only rolling 1 die for range combat, which is illustrated right here next to the gun symbols. So he's only rolling 1 die, but he only needs to get a 3 or higher to beat my agility. So unfortunately, it's not too difficult, and he got the 5. So that now means I finally am taking a point of damage, or the witch is. So to denote that, I'm placing a wound token on her card. And then same... Oh, I didn't... So technically I was supposed to do a die roll for his turn. And he actually rolled a 1, so we might have to take this back. It says 1... Let's just see what 1 is supposed to do. So it says 1. If possible, attacks and then moves towards the closest exit. He does not move if he's already at an exit. Okay, so so I kind of was doing it right. Lily livered, so he's a little I guess worried about this witch. Probably I would be too. So he shoots his gun. We already did take care of that, and now he's actually going to run towards the nearest exit. So he's going 1, 2. I don't know if he actually would ever leave the tile. Yeah, it says never mind. He doesn't. He would never leave the tile because it does say he does not move if he's already at an exit. So that was simple enough to, and again, kind of thematic, like I just said. Like, yeah, he's probably a little worried about these the witch and the hopefully coming soon gunner. So that would end the turn of the pirates. Sorry, the redcoats. We would then move into the end of turn. This time we might actually have to do stuff. Both enemies and characters that failed. Oh, okay. So I just skipped the turn of the stun redcoat because I didn't think that they do anything on their turn and then just recover. I need to read it to see if that's actually how that's handled. So I'm sorry about that. I just want to quick make sure that I am... And I think I maybe missed a red... Oh, Never mind. So, yeah, game status. Ugh. I thought there was a stunned. A pirate can spend 2 actions to get rid of the state, and now I can spend one of their actions, and the enemies have a single attempt. Oh, okay. So I made a little bit of a, well, it's not a huge deal, but the pirate, if they pass a 4 strength check. Okay, so the pirate, the stun pirate, sorry about that. The stun pirate technically does have the chance to unstun themselves. And to do so, they have to do a strength check and pass on a, would get a, if they roll 5 or 6, they actually get to then continue their turn as normal, I guess. Crap. All right, so unfortunately, this, you know, the stun pirate wasn't quite a powerful enough bonk to really keep him down. So he is going to be able to take a turn, and as a result, in this case, since he's immediately adjacent to the witch, he's not going to even roll for his behavior because he's just going to straight up do a melee attack. And again, with melee, he's rolling 2 red dice. I'm rolling then 3 black dice to defend myself. And we both want 3s, 4, 5s, or 6s. Oh, ooh, holy cow. So, he did roll a crit success, but I rolled a crit success as well, which cancels that out. And then he did roll a 5, but I rolled a 6, another success. So I was able to cancel out both of his melee successes. So, woof, that was close. So the witch is just kind of doing all sorts of moves with her staff. All right, now we go to the cleanup. We continue with that cleanup phase, which again I think was more or less just otherwise would have had to resolve for just taking away that stun token, which already had been done. So in the case, they must also pass. Oh, I missed out on. Oh, whatever. I didn't. Never mind. Okay, so so now it's the pirate's turn again. I'm going to pause here since it's getting pretty late for me, and continue this up tomorrow. So please, if you're not already following or like our Talk Cover YouTube page, please subscribe and follow us so that you'll get a notification when we go live again and see the result of this mission. Are we going to find this dead man's journal on this island? And with that said, for those of you that have watched this, thanks for taking time to watch me play this game. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please leave comments in the comments section of the video. Oops, let me get rid of this camera. Let's go to this camera. Please leave any comments in the video. Again, this was Skull Tales Full Sail. The second edition, there will be a Gamefound campaign coming up in the next couple months. So follow along on the Gamefound page if you're interested in this game. And like I said, hope to finish out this adventure phase tomorrow. And I plan to continue into the other phases of the game as well. So this is just the adventure phase that I've been playing. But then again, if you saw at the beginning of this, there's also a port phase and also a voyage phase with completely different gameplay than the adventure phase. So I want to show off those parts of the game too. So yeah, so far I'm having a very fun time because as you can see, having watched this, there's just a lot of thematic elements in this game that really make it fun to play with. And yeah, Skull Tales Full Sail, check it out. I will hope to be back tomorrow with hopefully the end of this playthrough session. So see you guys soon.